we go. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to our first ever, kind of, mandatory coaches meeting. For those of you that are new, we do coaches meetings once a month, except during the summer months when we take a week off or a month off. This one is a little special because we're going to go through everything you need to know getting into this season for starting fall. So thank you for joining us. We're going to respect your time. We're going to make sure all of this is relevant. We are going to ask that if you have questions, you put them in chat, not unmute yourself for now. We are recording this because anyone who's watching later, in order to fulfill these requirements of the mandatory meeting, we'll go back and do an ed puzzle that Nick is very excited about creating the questions for. Drop your questions in chat. Nick will be monitoring. I'll try to monitor them as well. And if it's something that we feel is relevant and for the good of everybody, we might answer it now. If not, we'll go back at the end. And when we're done recording, then you can feel free to unmute and we can have conversations. There's always the option to schedule another meeting with us as well. Nick and I love spending time helping you with your issues and talking through things. So you can always feel free to schedule an individual meeting as well. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you are new, just a little bit about us as Indiana Esports Network. We are 100% volunteer driven, educator led, and free to students. We are the only esports organization in Indiana operating that can say that, and we take pride in that. We don't have another agenda. We're not beholden to any for-profit companies or other groups. We do what we do because we think esports is a valuable opportunity for students and for schools, and we think it's worth doing. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe before a few of you were here, we have over 100 schools. My prediction is close to the 130 school mark for when we get ready to start fall season. We're still growing every day. The word's getting out of what we're doing. And we're really trying not just to use esports as an opportunity for kids to have fun, which is good in its own right, but we really view it as an opportunity to increase their academic performance and motivation in school, to provide an inclusive community for a lot of students who haven't been able to find that community in schools, and to develop 21st century skills. So a little bit of introduction. So my name's Joe. If we haven't met, I'm a teacher at Snyder High School in Fort Wayne, technology coordinator, do some other things. I run our esports program at Snyder, and I have the distinction of being the director of Indiana Esports Network. Really, whether the board of directors as a whole operates as a collaborative unit. So even though Nick tried to slip up and call me his boss earlier, we're just any of us you can approach with anything. We work together really well, and we're all here to support you.
And I'm Nick. I'm the vice president of IEN. I'm a technology integration specialist at Greensburg Junior High School, and I've been doing esports there for years and years. And yeah, like Joe said, we're here to help.
Nathan, did you make it?
I did make it. So
There
yeah,
we go.
had just had kids in here like 2 minutes ago, but yeah, I'm here. So my name's Nathan. I'm the treasurer of IEN. I've been at Kinky Valley High School for the past 7 years. Been doing esports. This is our 5th year now. And yeah, like Joe and Nick said, we're here to help you guys through the process.
Dylan, I don't think is in. He's going to be jumping in. They adopted a dog kind of at the last minute, so he's dealing with some of those issues. Dylan was the director at Carmel High School in Carmel, Indiana. He has since taken a head coach position at the University of Wisconsin River Falls. So he brings the collegiate lens and mindset to us as a board, helps us out while still having, founding experience in IEN. Ben Underwood is the last board member. Ben is the president, but Ben is stepping down after this semester due to life circumstances. So he's still a member of the board, but he's kind of transitioning out. So he'll be with us until January. We'll have a business meeting in January, which is our second mandatory meeting of the year, where we'll be also voting on new board members and officers. So if you are interested in being a member of the board of directors, I can promise you that there's no money, no fame or glory. It doesn't cost money anymore, so that's good. But we are looking for help. So if you're highly motivated and feel like you have something that you can help contribute to the good of IEN as a whole, let one of us know, and we'll be happy to have those conversations in preparation for our business meeting in January. So let's get into the actual content of the meeting. So like I mentioned, and if you're looking in the document that Nick's been dropping in the chat, that's the agenda where you can sign in. There's links at the top as well that will kind of go through what we're going through. Where we wanted to start is with the website. And the IEN website is something that is important for you to know for a few reasons. And you can see my screen still. No, you can't. 1 second. There we go. Shared the wrong thing. So the IEN website is linked. It's indianaesportsnetwork.com. You can also type in isen.info if that's easier for you to remember. There are just a few things on here that I want to highlight. Most of you have probably seen it before, but it's general overview. The homepage is a good spot for a few different things. One, you can schedule a meeting with us via this button here. So if you ever need individual help and you're having trouble catching us on Discord or something like that, feel free to schedule a meeting with us, and at least a few of us will be there to work through whatever you need. This is also how new schools would schedule a meeting to onboard with us. So if you have any schools that are interested, you can direct them to our website and schedule a meeting there. A newer item on our website is we're linking the weekly newsletters now right on the homepage of the website. So if you ever forget where the email was or it's not going to an account that you check, you can go ahead and check it on the website. It's got links to everything important that's coming up. Dylan does a really good job. So the coaches meeting link is here. There's events coming up with Stay Plugged In, with Coca-Cola All-Stars, all sorts of things here that you can peruse. So make sure that you know where that is and can direct others as well. And then below that is to sign up for email updates. If you want to receive the newsletter and you are not currently, you can sign up there. And this is an open newsletter. Anyone in your school or in your community can feel free to do that to stay in the know about what's going on with IEN. Back up to the top, about, you can explore. We've got some partners there as well. Calendars is one of the big things. So if you ever don't know where the calendars are, they are here. One of the things that's come up a lot recently is coaches wanting to print these calendars. On my to-do list to do in the next few days is to add the PDF links directly to this website so that you can print them from here. I know the embedded calendar is not very easy to print. So within a day or so, you should be able to come back here and find the direct Google Drive link for the PDF that you'll be able to print. The drop down under calendar has the different calendars. So the ISIN calendar, the IMSIN, and the IEN calendar, which is unified. We can go through this pretty quickly. So most of you know that registration opened on the 14th, and we're at the current mandatory coaches meeting. September is when a lot of things happen. So in September, registration deadline closes on the 15th at midnight. That is a hard registration deadline. So what we have to do once registration is closed is go through and manually generate all the matches. So we do need that time in order to be able to do that. So that's why it is a hard deadline, unfortunately. We have 1 week of preseason, which is not a scheduled preseason. It is open scrimmage time for you as a school. So everyone will be wanting to test out their technology, make sure the network is configured correctly, give kids a taste of what the matches are going to look like. So feel free to set up scrimmages that week. If you need help setting those up, feel free to reach out and we can point you in the direction of someone who can help. Week 1 of competition starts the last week in September. We're offering 10 titles at the high school level this year. Like normal, the top titles, Valorant, Overwatch 2, Super Smash Bros., Rocket League, and League of Legends, are the team titles, where you as a team from your school are competing against another team from a different school. Minecraft is kind of in the middle. It's mostly a team title, but it's not going to have Varsity and Academy, which we'll talk about in a second. Minecraft is just going to be a Varsity-only game. It's also the only one that will cost money. So Minecraft is facilitated through CompMC, which is a company that will run the server for you and host it. If you're interested in that, we can point you to those rule documents. But that is $20, $25 for your team for the season to compete. The bottom titles, Tetris, Chess, Fortnite, and iRacing, are what we call our tournament titles. Those are 1v1 in nature. You can have multiple players from your school, but they're all competing individually. Those titles are a little bit different, which we'll talk about in a second. So our weekly schedule is we have 2 weeks of competition before taking a few weeks of break, around when schools normally have fall break. Notice the coaches meetings are also on the calendar for the third Wednesday of every month. Those are here at the same link that you're at now. It's posted in Discord. It'll be on our newsletters and all over the place. We pick back up for weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6. The way the calendar is divided is we have a fall split or a fall semester of 6 weeks of competition, and then we take a break for Thanksgiving and all of these sorts of things. Spring split registration actually opens at the end of November because we take all of December off and come back in January to spring registration closing on the 12th, which is close for some schools in terms of when they get back to school, which is why we open spring registration all the way back in November. Here's the other mandatory coaches meeting that we mentioned. This is more of a business style meeting where we'll do elections of officers and organizational type things. You'll notice we start back up with week 7 in spring for high school because it's not a distinct season. We're carrying through the standings and the results. So we have week 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Spring is a little bit more condensed than fall because we have playoffs, which you'll see in a second. We do take a break week for President's Day week, come back and do week 12. And then what we'll do is we'll take the standings from all of fall and spring and combine them into kind of an overall standing leaderboard that will be used to seed the playoffs. Now, playoffs are for all team titles. So Valorant, Tetris, Overwatch 2, Smash Brothers, Rocket League, League of Legends, and Minecraft all will have playoffs in a single elimination format. Tetris, Chess, Fortnite, and iRacing, like are listed here, will have 2 extra weeks of normal competition instead of playoffs in lieu of those. So what you're going to be able to do is kind of gain some more points in those last 2 weeks to find an overall individual champion. Tournament titles are going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. There's not going to be a team component to them. Tournament titles will be completely individually. So whichever the top student is in the state will receive a medal, and your school will receive a trophy, but it will be based just on individual performances, not team scores. And then in April, we get to do the really fun thing of taking an entire month off of competition because schools in Indiana can't decide when spring break should be, and we want to try to avoid them all. There's a chance that if you don't make playoffs for your varsity team, then you won't have to worry about this break week and coming back. But if you do have a varsity team that gets past the first round of playoffs, playoffs will continue again into April. And what will happen is we'll get down to 2 final teams, take a little bit of a break for people to make travel arrangements, and then the state finals will be in person on April 27th. They're going to be at a centrally located venue somewhere around the Indianapolis area to try to minimize travel time for everyone. Last year they were at Ball State University, which was a great venue in partnership, but we'll announce within the coming months where next year's state finals will be. I just do want to mention that there are going to be opportunities for teams and players and coaches who are not competing in state finals events. So we'll have some educational sessions, we'll have vendors there. So it's a date to put on your calendar even if you're not going to be competing. The big thing that I mentioned, and we'll come back to when I revisit league structure, is playoffs are only for varsity teams. So if you are an academy team or a club team, you will not be participating in playoffs. That's the IEN calendar. Let's take a look at IMSN. So the middle school calendar follows the same basic general structure, but does have a few differences. Registration opened and closed at the same time. We still have a week of preseason. Middle school is going to play 2 titles in the fall. They're going to play Minecraft on Tuesdays and Rocket League on Thursdays. We follow the same basic structure, a few break weeks. The difference is middle school is not a year-long season. Middle school has separate, distinct seasons each semester. So the fall season will come to an end, and there'll be fall playoffs in November and December, and we'll crown a state champion for middle school Minecraft and Rocket League in the fall in December. Spring split registration opens the same time for high school at the end of November and carries through until January 12th. Same thing in spring, a distinct season, but this time for 3 titles. Smash Brothers on Tuesdays, Fortnite on Wednesdays, Rocket League on Thursdays. We'll carry through and have playoffs start the first week of March before taking 4 weeks off again, and playoffs will wrap up before the state finals. And middle school state finals will be in person as well at the same event that the high school ones will be. And we're both done by May because May is a kind of crazy time for everyone, and we don't want to encroach on graduation and all of those sorts of things. We also have Unified, which is an offering that some of you might not be aware of. Unified Esports is in partnership with Special Olympics Indiana. and it's for students with intellectual disabilities, partnering with students without intellectual disabilities or general education students. Um, Unified is even pared down a little bit further than middle school. So in the fall, Unified will be playing Rocket League. It's listed on Mondays, but Unified matches just have to be played the week that they are supposed to be scheduled. They are scheduled independently between coaches who are playing. Follows a very similar format to the other calendars. We have 6 weeks, and then we do playoffs, and we crown a Unified Rocket League champion for the fall. The spring title for Unified will be Smash Brothers. That's run much the same way. One match per week during match weeks. We'll have 6 weeks of competition before starting playoffs. And like middle school, when we get down to the 2 final teams, the Unified Championship will also be at our IEN State Finals event in April. So those are the calendars. Like I said, I will make sure that we get those linked onto the website in a printable format so you can have them all. The only other thing that I just kind of want to show off is if you go under past events, you can see some state finals information, but you can also see the Hall of Champions where we crowned previous winners. And this will develop as we go, and we'll put more and more schools here in our Tournament of Champions or in our Hall of Champions once they win. So that's the website in a nutshell. Hopefully that was helpful. The next thing we want to go into, well, I guess I can pause here and see if there's questions in the chat that need to be answered. If we don't compete in fall, can you start in spring? You can absolutely start in spring. If you play in spring, you are eligible for the playoffs, regardless of if you played in fall. But you have to compete in spring to be eligible for the playoffs. If fall break is during a week competition, how will that work? If you're a club level team, you just don't have to check in that week. There's no penalties for not checking in. You can simply choose whether or not you play a match. If you have a scheduled match for varsity or academy, which we'll cover in a little bit, then you could try to reschedule that match with the other coach. Most coaches are very accommodating when they can be. It's just if you are the one requesting a reschedule and the other coach cannot accommodate, you would have to take the forfeit if that comes through. You are able to change up the rosters between spring and fall. Yep, there'll be a roster lock in spring again, where like the roster that you have exiting spring will be the roster that you take in the playoffs. Yes, chess is high school only. For Minecraft, you have to pay $25 per season per team. Yes, it is $25 per season per team. And I answered that one. Overwatch 2 playoffs are with the other team title playoffs. All of them on the schedule are those same weeks. Okay, so
there's
yeah.
a couple other questions. Someone was asking about middle school having to register players.
Yes-ish. We'll cover that when we get to LeagueOS. You don't have to register them with personally identifiable information. You can create what are called detached accounts, and we can walk through how to do that.
Okay.
And then LeagueOS scheduling scrimmages.
Yep.
We can work at that. There's a way you can in LeagueOS set your availability, so we can use that to help schedule some scrimmages. It might be a lot to try to do for fall. I think that might be something to put in more formal arrangements next year. The lead IEN contacts for each games. In general, just reach out to the board of directors with anything you need. You can ping us on Discord or email us. The caveat to that would be iRacing, which we can cover in a minute. Yeah, let's move on. You feel free to drop more questions in the chat, and we'll cover them as we go. Dave, I'm coming back to your question about Academy and JV. We'll get to that in just a second. One of the things we did over the summer is we completely revamped our bylaws and general rules. So before, they were very segmented based on game title. There were some inconsistencies. What we did is we went through and we made one rule document, which apparently I'm not going to be able to get the link for. Give me just 1 second. So we combined everything into a single document. It is quite long and intimidating, if I'm being completely honest. It's an 86-page document. Most of you will not need to read most of it. It is there for any of you that so wish, but we also did some other things to help make that a little bit easier for everyone. So here are our bylaws and general rules. These are linked on LeagueOS. We put them a few different places as well. One of the big improvements is it's got a table of contents, so you can be able to jump exactly where you need to. At the beginning, we have a lot of information about our organizational structure. So in terms of who we are what our mission, vision, and purpose are. They're all there. And again, they're all centered on doing what's best for students, giving opportunities to students in an inclusive way, being consistent and fair, but giving students a chance to be a part of something that they might not have been a part of before. We focus a lot on collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, those sorts of things. And in general, we want to be a positive source in the community in a lot of ways that students aren't used to seeing in a video game community. We're governed by an elected board of directors. There's some information there about when we meet and all of these sorts of things. We also have a competition council, which is another way that you can be involved in IEN leadership. The competition council makes some decisions on rule changes, competition formats, tournament revisions, those sorts of things. So if you're interested in the organizational competition side of IEN, there'll be an application process for the competition council as well. The rule changes is something we already like to highlight. We did spend a lot of time on this over the summer. So we think it's good, but it's not perfect. We're not going to promise that it is. So there may be instances where there's an oversight and we have to adjudicate a rule change. If we do that, it will be communicated as often and as widely as possible. But that is at the discretion of the board in concert with the competition council. We don't foresee these things happening, but there's always a chance that something comes up where we have to make a rule change mid-season. We don't want to, but it might happen. There's things about definitions. A lot of this you can read or ignore at your choosing. We have common sense media links for all of the titles that we play. There's also a quick glance at what the roster sizes for these are, so you can see all of them here. One thing we really want to talk about is the idea of league restructuring. So we've done a little bit of change in terms of how the overall league is structured. In the past, we had varsity, JV, and club. We're similar. We still have a varsity team, and your varsity is your school's highest level competition team. That's the premier competition format across the state. Those are the teams that will compete in playoffs and for a chance to compete in state finals. Academy is taking over for JV. It's very similar to the JV title and function. The difference is some schools felt like they had to have a varsity team in order to have a JV team. That's not the case with Academy. If you decide that your team, your program at your school isn't quite ready for varsity, but you still really want pre-scheduled matches, that's exactly what Academy is for. Academy is that situation where you can have pre-scheduled matches, but you're not at that premier level of competition. Club is kind of the lowest, easiest level to compete in. We have it for a few reasons. One, some schools don't like the high stress competition that comes with varsity. They want a more relaxed environment where students are focusing on the collaborative aspect and the teamwork aspect as opposed to the competition aspect. So that's what that exists for. It also is if you have more than 2 teams. So you can have one varsity team, one academy team, but any more than that would be your club level teams. So that's an option as well. The third thing is any new school, if this is your first year or your first semester in IEN, we're going to require you to compete in club for 1 semester as a probationary period. This serves a few purposes. One, it helps you as a program kind of get your feet underneath of you before you jump into the higher stress varsity level competition. And frankly, it also helps us protect the competitive integrity of varsity. What we really want to avoid is a new school joining and not being sure about all the commitments and not being able to field a team for the whole year due to maybe factors outside their control. We don't want to have a lot of forfeits in our varsity level programs. So that's why we require a probationary stage or semester for new schools to compete in club. Eligibility is here. You can read through that. They're pretty straightforward as well. This is a little bit more in detail about what I was talking about in terms of the roster types. So like we said, you can have 1 varsity team, 1 academy team, and as many club teams as you want at the high school level. Middle school is a little bit different, which we'll get to in a second. So at the high school level, you can have these things. We have vastly simplified the roster rules in terms of roster locking and substitutes. So it's explained here, but basically, players on your varsity roster, both starters and substitutes, can only play on your varsity roster. They are not allowed to play at the academy level or the club level. Players that are on your academy roster, both starters and substitutes, can play in any academy matches you like, And they can sub up to any varsity matches that you like. They cannot play down into club, however. Club level players can play all of your club matches. They can also sub up to either academy or varsity, whichever is your next level team. So if you do not have an academy team, they can sub up to varsity. If you do have an academy team, they would sub up there. So we're getting away with the percentage requirements on maximum number of matches that can be played and simplifying the process to players cannot sub down a roster, they can only sub up rosters. So make sure that you read that and understand that moving forward. Middle school is similar but a little bit different. There is no club level in the middle school. You can have a varsity team and then as many academy teams as you want. Um, all middle school matches are pre-scheduled. There is no club queue system, so you'll know exactly when your matches are and be able to schedule. Same thing with substitutes. Varsity players, either starters or subs, may not play on academy. Academy players, both starters or subs, may sub up to varsity during the regular season. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's take a look at division rebalancing, which I do not believe are in the general rules, but we did do some division rebalancing. Um, they were quite out of balance at the end of last year. So we set new population cutoffs for schools in terms of divisions. The single A cutoff is at, I need to look. Nick, do you remember?
I'm in the middle of pulling it up right now too.
I believe it's 500 is the cutoff for single A to double A. And I believe 1300 is the cutoff from double A to triple A.
Almost there. Let's see.
But let's make sure we get those right. It should be down in the coaches meeting. While they're looking that up.
Yeah, so I got it right here.
Okay.
Single A is size 1 to 500, double A is 501 to 1300, and triple A is 1301 plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Great. Carlos, for subbing on LeagueOS, we note these alternates. You would not put someone on your academy roster onto your varsity roster. So, I mean, you could put them there for that match and then remove them if you're subbing them up, but they would not be carried on your varsity roster. There's a way to denote for the bench. So, yes, we can look at that in the future. But in general, they would just be on your academy roster and they would play up to varsity. They would not permanently be a member of your varsity roster. Does academy and club happen on the same days and times as varsity? Yes. Academy, club, and varsity all take place at on the same dates during those competition weeks. The difference is club will always happen at 5 p.m. Eastern. So you'll check in to the club queue system between 4 and 4:55 p.m. Eastern, and the matches will be generated, and you'll start playing at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you have academy and varsity, those are pre-scheduled matches, so you are free to reschedule them in agreement with the opposing coach. The default time is 5 p.m. Eastern, but you can schedule them earlier. So yes, with that caveat. Yeah, Steve is banned. That is adjusted in the Super Smash Brothers rules, and we'll make sure we post an announcement in the Smash Brothers channel as well. All right. Can subs be brought into a team match during a competition only before matches? Before matches is ideal. If something happens where you need to sub up during the match, just communicate with the other coach. Okay, yeah, rules. We talked about default match time. There are expectations for communication as well. So the biggest thing is we believe in IEN that the best environment for these matches to take place is in person. So if you are playing from home, there are some provisions here that you should read, but we really believe that it's in the best interest of everyone if students are competing at school under the supervision of an adult directly to be able to mitigate potential issues, to help provide enriching opportunities for them as well. You also need to be in communication with your players regardless of where they're competing from, which means direct communication. In addition, you need to make sure that you're communicating with your opposing coach. So that will take place on our new platform, LeagueOS, which we'll get to in a little bit. But just make sure that you're following the communication guidelines. So in the past, our default communication or our preferred communication had been Discord. We are changing that to LeagueOS Match Chat. So you will have the ability to chat with your opponent directly in the LeagueOS platform. You'll be able to get notifications when you get messages sent to an email or on the web, whichever you choose. We're moving away from Discord for coordinating matches. Discord will still be used for, building community, collaborating with each other, having discussions, but the coordination of matches is going to be limited to LeagueOS. Everyone should have access to it. We don't have to worry about it being blocked. It'll be the commonplace for everything. It'll also allow us as league administrators on the board to see all that communication. We won't have to mess with sending screenshots when there are disagreements and all those things. It will all be there. In general, make sure you are supervising your students' in-game communication as well. In general, we don't like in-game communication to happen, barring, GLHF, GG, or if something needs to happen in terms of a pause due to technical issues, a fire alarm, something of that nature. We talked about communication expectations, supervision expectations. The bottom of this document, the bulk of it, in fact, are the title rules for different games. What I will say is these title rules are long form mostly because we have to abide by publishers' guidelines. So some of the stuff in here is legal jargon. Some of it is something that you're not going to want, but it's there for legal purposes. Feel free to peruse these at your will, though. They are alphabetical order, and they are linked along the side and at the top. So all of them have specific rules and guidelines. I do not want to go through these long form rules because what we also did is we made one-page rule summaries. So while these rules might be needed for more intricate decisions or if you're looking into something in detail, our hope is that most everything you need will be handled on the one-page summaries. That being said, these are all here. Feel free to go through them as needed. While I transition to the one-pagers, Nick, Nathan, is there anything we missed in chat?
Yeah,
there are several
some
things.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to go way back. James asked when are Overwatch 2 playoffs. Did we answer that question?
Believe so. Same time as other team playoffs. So when you see playoffs on the calendar, that's talking about 4 team titles. The tournament titles that are listed on those respective days are not playoffs. They are continuations of normal competition that will be weighted to find the overall winner.
Okay, and then difference between Academy and JV?
Functionally, not a lot. Again, the difference will be you do not need a varsity team to play Academy. In traditional sports, you don't have a JV team unless you have a varsity. For us, Academy is denoting it could be your mid-level team, it could be your highest level team, it doesn't matter. It's the team that wants to have pre-scheduled matches that is not varsity.
Are there preseason matches for chess and Fortnite?
Nathan, are we planning on doing a preseason week for chess?
I would say that's to be determined. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I would say maybe we'll talk about it as a board after this meeting, and we'll get back to you guys. We'll post it in the newsletter. We'll post it in Discord for you guys. But I would say like 80% sure, yes, I would like to.
Yep. In Fortnite, we'll have to get back with you. We're actually, and we'll talk about this when we get to the Fortnite rules. We're partnering with the university to help us run Fortnite as well.
If you don't compete in the fall, does that put you behind the standings in spring for the finals?
Yes. So you won't have had the chance to gain as many points. So everyone still qualifies for playoffs regardless. The seeding will be based on both fall and spring. So the answer to your question is yes, a little, but you will still qualify for the playoffs.
Each school can have one club team or multiples or unlimited?
Unlimited sounds daunting, but yes, unlimited up until a point. If you want to register more than like 3, then we might have to have a conversation. But yeah, as many club teams as you like.
And then do you need to inform the other coach if you sub someone up?
It's common courtesy too, yes, especially if they're not going to be on the LeagueOS roster. So we don't want to be in a point where a coach is saying, "Oh, you can't play that student because they're not on the LeagueOS roster." I mean, just explain to your opposing coach, like, "Hey, this is one of my academy players who last minute had to sub. We didn't get a chance to put him on the LeagueOS roster. It is what it is." In general, be as accommodating as possible with other coaches. Yes, we want to promote competition. Yes, we want there to be a premier level where the stakes matter. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is for kids. So try to keep that in mind.
And then if a team is club for first semester, does that mean they won't be able to qualify for playoffs?
Nope, you will, and your standings will carry over as well. So you can do club first semester and then compete in spring. The biggest thing, the thing that will disqualify you from playoffs is if you only compete in fall and not spring. If you want to compete in playoffs, you must compete in the spring semester.
Middle school can it start earlier than 5? Default start time is 4:30, but if you with the other coach, you come upon agreed upon time, then you can meet or do whenever.
Skirmishes we'll talk about. We have not explored a lot with LeagueOS. There is some functionality being developed there. We'll have to see if it's ready for the season and test it. But Discord is always a great spot to be able to reach out for skirmishes or for scrimmages.
Okay, good.
We did
We're
have
caught
one
up.
at the top about the Discord link as well that we
Oh,
missed.
yep, we can make sure the Discord link goes out. We can scroll back through chat and try to find you, or you can email one of us, and we can make sure we get it to you as well. All right, 8:36. Here we go. So this is an example of one of the one-pagers that we wrote, and I won't be able to click that again. Awesome. So I'm going to pull it up, and one of the things that you'll notice is they're not all one-pagers, which Dylan was really mad about, but oh well. So there is a folder with all the one-page summaries, or the shortened summaries, I suppose, if you will. And these are kind of your one-stop shop. Since we're using official documentation. Oh, I don't know. They can send us a cease and desist if they want. That's fine. We don't have any money for them to take, so oh well. So we're just going to go through these very quickly. I don't want to read it all to you. I hate when people read me messages or read me documents and emails, but I do want to highlight some of the specifics. Chess is on chess.com. So Nathan soon will give you the link. It's in this document as well, but we'll give you instructions on how to join IENchess.com club. It's pretty simple. Students will need to have a chess.com account in order to join the club. So we will use LeagueOS for chess.com in terms of tracking standings, but we will not use it for actually generating matches or score reporting. That is much more easily handled in the chess.com platform. So basically your students will join the club. Nathan will set up the Swiss for that week. They won't have to find their opponent and friend them. It'll all be seamless, and the score reporting will happen automatically right there. It's a good thing for all of us. It's a 10-3, 10 minutes with 3-second increment. That's a custom setting that you can set up. It'll also be configured in the club, so you won't have to worry about that as well. Basically, the joining procedure is have your students create a chess.com account, have them join the club. At 4 p.m., they can start registering for that week's tournament. They will have to register for each week's tournament to make sure that they are competing in that week's bracket or Swiss. And then at 5 p.m., it'll start, and students will be assigned a match. Even if they lose, they keep playing, which is something students sometimes don't realize. In a Swiss, you're playing all of them. So make sure students stick around and make sure they realize they're playing all of them. The scoring for Tetris will work following this table. Basically, based on your placement each week, students will get a number of points. Those points will carry over week to week. And then at the end, we'll tabulate all the points and come up with an overall champion. All of these summary one-pagers have a link to the full rule set. So if you want to find more detail, you can do that there. Fortnite. Fortnite is another tournament title that's a little bit different than some of the team-based titles. The difficult part of Fortnite is it's a battle royale game, and we need to make sure everyone's competing against each other. So the roster size is solo. You will have students competing individually, not in a team. And right now, you can have up to 4 per school each week for each lobby. So what that means is you could choose to have only 4 Fortnite players on your school roster, and those same 4 will compete in a build and a no-build lobby each week. You can have 8 players completely individually, and you'll just be able to have 4 in each with no overlap, or anything in between. That's entirely up to your discretion. A suggestion would be, if you have students competing at a really high level, maybe you have your top Fortnite player play in both lobbies each week in order to accumulate the most number of points possible. That is entirely up to your discretion. We will have ISIN Fortnite matches at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. IMSIN middle school matches will be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern when those start up in the spring. Basically, you can stream as well. We have streaming rules on most of these one-pagers. Like I said, there's a solo build and a solo no-build lobby each week. Students will be able to take a join code that we post on LeagueOS, and you'll be able to join the lobby. The 4 per school is flexible, right? We have 99 spots in the lobby. We'll have to see based on how many students register. That could fluctuate up and down. It could also change throughout the year as students drop or schools aren't fielding as many. So that you just have to pay attention to that total being flexible. The quick joining procedures are outlined here. So a code will be generated each Wednesday. That will be posted in LeagueOS. Your students already will have access to LeagueOS. You won't even have to share that code with them, and they'll be able to get into the lobby and play. The first round will wrap up. There'll be a 5-minute break, and then there'll be a second lobby as well. Same process. The join code will be posted, and then the match will start 10 minutes after. Scoring for all of our tournament titles is more unified than it was. You'll notice that this table follows the same as chess, with the addition of in Fortnite, students will score 1 point per elimination as well. So that will be something that's a little bit different. iRacing. This document is in flux. iRacing is the one title that we are not as directly involved in as the board of directors. We have a title runner for this, Drew, who is kind of our iRacing expert. So this is mostly accurate for what you should expect, but there will be some small changes here. iRacing is a little bit different in a few key ways. One, there is a student Discord for iRacing. It is the only student Discord that exists for IEN. We're getting rid of the Fortnite one. If you notice, there were no mention of the Fortnite Discord in the Fortnite one-pager. iRacing, due to the nature of its competition, will still have it. So your students will join the iRacing Discord if applicable for communication. There's also pre-race drivers meetings via Google Meet. These are shared in the Discord. We'll also make sure that file or that link is accessible. What will happen is during the drivers meetings, the race session will be discussed. The race sessions will start at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll have time for practice, qualifications, and the race. All of this is done in the iRacing client. So you will still register iRacing players on LeagueOS, but the competition will be managed and run through iRacing, with LeagueOS being used to track some stats. We're looking at API integration and tracking standings. But for the most part, all of that will be done in the iRacing client. The format, like it says here, races 30-minute practice, 10 minutes qualifying, 20 minutes of race. We are working on some specifics on the variety of track and car. An announcement for that should be forthcoming in the next few days. iRacing is a niche title, so if you need extra help for that, we'll be happy to point you in the right direction. League of Legends. So basics of League of Legends are 5 starters and 5 subs for your roster size. Schedule is the same as always. Streaming limitations, there are no specific league streaming limitations because the client enforces a delay when you spectate. So you don't need to worry about an additional delay. The format is blind pick because what we'll be doing is we'll be banning on an external site. There are a few linked here. If for some reason all of those are blocked on your school network, you can draft in client. It's just harder if your students don't own every champion. Riot Games is offering League Unlocked again for schools. So if you have a League of Legends team and you do not have League Unlocked, which is allowing all of your students to have access to every champion in the game while they're at school, let us know. I believe that registration is still open. Don't hold me to that, but I believe it is. Make sure you organize your teams in the correct order. Here's a picture example of what drafting looks like for the band phase. Their example on how to create your lobby as well with the correct name and those sorts of things. Again, with a link to the full rule set. Minecraft is a new title. We offered it in the past as a creative build challenge. Now it will be a competitive mode. So it does have to be Java, the version of Minecraft, which I believe if you own any version of Java now, or Minecraft, you own Java. I think that's correct. We're using CompMC, which is the service provider for the competition. This is where your $25 registration fee for Minecraft as a team happens. Roster size is 5 starters and 2 subs. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. for high school, Tuesdays at 4:30 p.m. for middle school. Again, those are default start times. They can be changed. Minecraft, again, is a little bit special in that there is only a varsity league for Minecraft. There is no academy or club. Every team that competes in Minecraft will be at the varsity level. The structure is there's a 20-minute match timer. The first team to capture the wool and return it wins. It's capture the flag, effectively. Minecraft is something a little bit different as well in that there are a lot of commands needed to set up the lobby and to get students on the right team. These are all here in the one-page document, and we'll be happy to help with that as well as you get into it. The map rotation for Minecraft is laid out. So there are weekly starter stages. For week 1, you'll start on Taxi, and that will be denoted in this table for every week of competition and for playoffs. But afterwards, for set 2 and 3, in this best of 3, which I see in the chat is what the format is, yes. So you'll play until one team wins 2 matches. Whoever loses the previous match will get to choose the counterpick stage from any of these listed here. And again, there's a link to the full rule set. Overwatch 2. I know everyone's excited that we're able to offer Overwatch again. We are an official licensed league providing Overwatch 2 from Blizzard. It is cross-platform. You can play on any platform you like. The roster size is 5 starters and 4 subs. You do have to follow the starting lineup of 1 tank, 2 healers, and 2 DPS. Schedule 5 p.m. on Tuesdays like normal. Make sure you spectate your side only and have a 3-minute stream delay to preserve competitive integrity. There are some match settings you need to make sure. Basically, you start with the competitive preset, and then you disable a few things. Kill cam is the biggest one. Make sure role limit is enabled so we don't have multiple roles that we shouldn't. In general, home teams are responsible for creating the lobby and inviting the opposing team. If you're the home team and you're not sure how that works, then you can ask the opposing team to help you with that. But in lieu of that, the home team is by default responsible. Like I said, we're going to run the competitive preset with those above noted changes in a best of 5 format. So best of 5 means you have to win 3 matches. We'll start with control, go to escort and push. If necessary, hybrid and another control. You'll find the week number and the map rotation for each week. So we're not messing with map bans for Overwatch. You know which maps you'll be playing in what order. And again, the hybrid or control are if necessary. We have the first 6 weeks, and then we have playoff rotation. We'll do the repeat in fall. We'll run the same 6. So that will be that. Rocket League, one of the most popular titles in the state, is also cross-platform on basically whatever you like. The roster size is 3 starters and 2 subs. For high school, Rocket League matches are Thursdays at 5. For middle school, they are Thursdays at 4:30. Again, unless scheduled with the opposing coach. You should let the other coach know you're streaming and ideally stream with a delay. 3 minutes is a good standard. The format is just standard 3v3. We're not playing Rumble or any of those sorts at high school. And I believe, Nick, we're just running standard for both semesters of middle school.
Correct.
There we go. Here's your map settings. So the arena by default is DFH Stadium. Upon agreement, you can switch. Make sure you have these settings correct. In particular, US East server. For some reason, some schools are playing on other servers. We're all here. We should all play on East. There are quick joining procedures as well. So if you're the team hosting, have your students create the lobby with the settings and give the username or password to the opposing coach. You can do that in LeagueOS. Just post it in the match chat and everyone will have access to it. Rocket League is a best of 5, so again that means the first team to win 3 wins the match. Super Smash Brothers is 4 starters and 2 subs on a roster. So what that means is you'll be able to have 6 players effectively and pull from that pool as necessary. For high school, those matches are Wednesdays at 5. For middle school, in spring, they are Tuesdays at 4:30. The biggest thing with streaming limitations is we don't want spectators outside of what is necessary. Smash Brothers is notorious, along with most Nintendo Online games, for not having the most robust online experience. So we want to limit that as much as possible. You can have a spectator if necessary, but try to limit it. We don't want every student spectating the arena. And let the other coach know that you're streaming with the 3-minute delay. The format is crew battles. 4v4 crew battles. So that means you will have 4 players compete in that match from your total of 6. Each one will have 3 stocks. Basically, when a player loses their 3 stocks, they're out. You send up your next player. If your player does not lose all of their stocks, they continue into the next round with whatever stocks they had remaining. We recorded a video, and that's linked in Discord. I believe it's also in the full rules. It's not here. So if you go to the full rules, you'll be able to find a video explaining how this crew battle works. It's also written here in rules, but sometimes it's easier to see it played out. The rule set is 3 stocks, 7 minutes. Make sure you have items off and the rest of the settings correct. What we do for Smash Brothers is we have a weekly starter stage. So you'll notice what stage we'll start on. Then the loser will counterpick the next stage. And you'll be able to pick from this list here. The stage of the week, Battlefield, Hollow Bastion, Small Battlefield, or Pokemon Stadium 2. During the regular season, Smash Brothers is best of 2, which you're like, wait, that means you can tie. Yes, you can tie in Smash Brothers. A best of 3 for every match of the regular season is a little bit too long. We try to keep our matches at about an hour and 20 minutes tops. So that means if you tie, you will have, you'll each receive effectively 2 points. It'll be scaled to something else, but 3 points for a win, 2 points for a tie. So you'll both receive the same number of points. In playoffs, obviously we cannot have ties, so we will go to a straight best of 3 for everything Smash Brothers related in playoffs. Like we mentioned earlier, Steve is banned for the 23-24 school year. All other fighters are available, however. If you use a Mii fighter, you have to disclose that moveset to the opponent at the time when you select that fighter, and that can be done in LeagueOS as well. Just a note, the plan is to unban Steve for next year. A lot of collegiate and other leagues are moving to unban Steve. We just didn't feel like we were ready for that at our level yet. Tetris is on the Tetrio or TETR.io platform. You can have as many students as you want, and it's Mondays at 5. It's going to be a Swiss tournament each week, and it's the first to 3 wins. So you play until one player has 3 wins. We're going to play 5 rounds, which may change a little bit depending on how many other number of participants. Basically, your students are going to create an account. They're going to join the Swiss tournament on LeagueOS. This will not be on Challenge like it was in the past. We will generate the tournament on LeagueOS. The downside, I guess, is that your students will have to report their scores on LeagueOS, and you as a coach can help them with that. On Mondays at 4 p.m., students will be able to begin registering on LeagueOS. At 5 p.m., it'll start, and students will be assigned a match. They will then have to find their opponent and have friend requested them on LeagueOS and start the match. Again, even if students lose, they'll be playing all 5 rounds. There is also, in the full rule set, some pictures explaining how to add their opponents as friends and be able to set up those matches. So take a look there for some more in-depth information. The scoring is the same as the other tournament titles in terms of placements. Valorant is 5v5 on PC. You can have 5 starters and 5 subs. Mondays at 5 p.m. Make sure you spectate from a coaching slot, not from an overall spectator account. And make sure you stream with a 3-minute delay. Particularly important in Valorant. You want at least a 3-minute delay to make sure you're out of a round. In the regular season, it's just best of 1. You play 1 map. In playoffs, it's best of 3. Map selection is currently listed here. Ascent, Split, Haven, Bind, Pearl, Fracture, and Lotus. They are getting ready to release a new season map pool for competitive. This may change. We'll just have to see what happens. What you'll do is we'll actually have Team 1 and Team 2 assigned in LeagueOS. We'll evaluate the coin flip. But Team 1 will create the band site link, which is here. Basically, you choose which maps we're playing, and then you get a chance to stage strike. The site goes through in the correct order everything that's necessary. So just make sure that you choose the correct maps, and you choose best of 1, and everything else will be handled. In terms of custom settings, make sure you have a custom close lobby, have the correct cheats and tournament mode on or off respectively. Make sure show corpses is on and show blood is off. You can also just disable mature content. There's a link to the full rule set as well. Unified Rocket League is very similar to the normal Rocket League format. The difference is in the roster. So athletes are students with intellectual disabilities. Partners are general education students without intellectual disabilities. So the starters are 2 athletes and 1 partner. And for subs, you can have 1 athlete and 1 partner. The schedule is just as necessary with the opposing coach, once per scheduled week. And the rest of the settings are the same. Very similar with Smash Brothers. The roster size is 4 starters, 2 athletes, 2 partners, and subs you can have either 1 athlete, 1 partner, or 2 athletes, but the rest are basically the same. That was a lot of me talking. Let's see what we got.
Well, Joe, I'm going to suggest that we
That's
continue
fine.
on with the meeting, and
Yep,
then after we can stop the recording and then do questions at the end.
works. We can do that. So let's take a look at LeagueOS. And we posted some resources on the Discord as well as in the agenda for LeagueOS, but I want to give you a quick rundown um, of what it is in case you have missed those. So this is the general LeagueOS landing page, and we're going to have announcements posted here as well. Basically, we have some calendar links and the general rules linked on the left side. We're trying to make LeagueOS your one-stop shop for everything that you need for competition. Effectively, what you're going to do is you're going to have a school that you create yourself. The invite link is in the agenda so that you can follow along and create your school. But basically, this is your page to manage as you will. So we can take a look at one. Let's take a look at Carmel real quick. So you can see Carmel has created teams. You're going to have a team for each roster that you compete with. You can assign students to those teams. You can make sure that you have everything in terms of the activity that's being played as well. So the school is neat. You can see who you're competing against. One of my personal favorites is the map, so we can see exactly around the state where our schools are located. There's also a hierarchy as well. So you can take a look and see, oh, who are the other single A schools that we're going to be competing against, or what do the other triple A schools look like? All of that is built into LeagueOS. Um, Other than your school and creating that, the most important thing is probably the competition page. This is kind of like on UGC where you registered for the competition. So what you'll do is you'll find which league you want to play. So let's say you have a Fortnite player that you want to register for Fortnite. You'll find Ice in Fortnite, and you'll be able to view this individual page. The registration button is over here on the right. So for whatever league you want to register for, you just basically hit register. If you have a team already created, you'll be able to just select a team from this dropdown. If you want to create a team directly from this menu, you can. Type in your team name, choose your school. You'll only have options to your school. I, as an admin, have access to all of them. And basically, you'll hit submit, and you're registered. We will take care of putting you in the correct division for the relevant titles. So if we take a look at Valorant Varsity, notice we have a stage for single A, a stage for double A, and a stage for triple A. You won't have to worry about that. You just say, hey, I have a Valorant Varsity team. I'm going to register. We'll take care of putting you in the right division. This is also where once matches are generated, you'll be able to come up and see the schedule. These are where the match pages will go. You'll be able to look, like if we go into single A varsity, the schedule will pop up here with every round of competition that's available. You'll be able to look at the other rosters for the other teams and view all the stats. The stat tracking side of things is one of the really exciting things for us. We're going to actually work on integrating with Stay Plugged In so that collegiate coaches can be able to scout our students through the platform and looking at stats. But again, the basics are find what you want to play. So if we want to play Unified Rocket League here, we would come down to View, and we would hit Register. You would select your team if you already have it created. If you don't, you would hit Create a New Team, type in the name, and select your school. Naming conventions, we'll make sure we release in writing as well. But basically, we want you to have a tag at the beginning of your team name that is your name, right? So don't you use abbreviations. Try to use your full name. And it will help you if you put the division, not the division, but the league as well. So if it's a varsity team, put varsity in the title. It will help you in the long run. If you notice here, my name, I have a tag at the beginning. This is my admin account, so I have IEN in the brackets at the beginning. When you create your account, you'll want to make sure you have a tag that identifies your school. Again, we want to avoid acronyms or abbreviations when possible. So try to use something that is definitive to your school. Also, make sure you use your name. I'm just using my last name. That's fine. But it should be personally identifiable to you as a coach. You can set this individually, and if you need help with that, we can make sure you get there. You can also look at teams if you want to see every team in the entire league. It's sortable at the top by activity. So activity is like your game that you're playing. Let's go into schools real quick, and I can show you how you'll manage your school. So your school has a landing page like this. At the top, you'll see an invite button if it's your school that you have administrative privileges to. This is how you'll invite your assistant coaches, also how you'll invite students. Unlike UGC, which we had in the past, where you could only have one coach account, you can invite as many assistant coaches as you like. But what we're asking is don't have your assistant coaches click on that same link that you did. We want you to retain ownership as the head coach of your school. What you can do, however, is just grant admin privileges via this invite. So for your assistant coaches, if you want to give them admin rights, you just click on the admin, decide if you want to limit the number of uses, hit activate, and then it will copy and allow you to invite your assistant coaches. When you're inviting students, make sure they don't have access to any of those things, hit activate, and you'll be able to share that invite with students. At the middle school level, you're probably not going to do that. I'm going to show you how to create detached accounts. Under members is where you'll see all the members of your school. I've got some test accounts. For some reason, Nathan is special, and he's on a lot of your rosters and in a lot of your schools. Not super important, but we're looking at resolving that as well. Teams is where you'll go to create your individual teams. So in your teams menu, you can hit create in the top right and create all of these teams. The most important part for creating a team, and we went through this in the video, it loads a new page when you click create team. If you go to settings, you'll want to change the team name, and you'll want to make sure you set the team activity. If you don't have the team activity set, it won't show up when you try to register things. So make sure you do that. If you had set your school clan tag, it will already be here. If you had not, then you can do that on an individual team basis. You can also invite students directly to a team. My suggestion would be not to do that. My suggestion would be to invite them to the school. And then once you're at a team, like let's say we go into my Rocket League Academy team, I can invite members directly to this team with the add button here. And it will show me only students who are in my school. So once your students have accepted that invite, you'll be able to do that. This screen right here in the team menu is where you'll create what are called detached accounts with this little link icon on the right. This is for any student that does not want to share personally identifiable information, specifically for you middle school coaches who have students under the age of 13. You'll just click this unlink detached account button. You'll create some generic league tag for them. You do not have to give the name or the email, and then that student will have that account. They will be able to play on that account and have all their statistics tracked. And then once they come of age, you can assign them this account, and they will have had all their stats tracked, and they'll be able to assume it. That was very quick and dirty on LeagueOS, but like we said, we have a rule doc or a walkthrough posted, and there's a video. We're also hosting some help sessions, so be on the lookout in Discord or in the newsletters for when those help sessions are, and we are more than happy to help you with that whole process. The last thing quickly that I got rid of, there's a few announcements that we wanted to highlight. One is we're going to be at AVI Live Conference at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on September 19th. It's going to be the largest AV Tech Expo in the Midwest. The cool thing is it's free. You are all completely welcome to attend on September 19th. It'll be a good opportunity to network with vendors if you're looking at outfitting your space or to talk with others in the industry. IEN will have a presence there and a booth, so you can also feel free to tell others that we'll be there if they were looking to talk to us in person. So, like I said, there's no cost to this. There's free breakfast and lunch on the day of. There was an announcement in the newsletter about this, so check it out. If you have questions, feel free to ask. But we're excited to have a presence there at what will be the largest tech conference in the Midwest. Also, we're having something a little bit different during our break weeks in October. We're going to have a college fair with Stay Plugged In. So on October 11th and October 17th, basically high school students, middle school if you really wanted to have parents involved, are going to be able to talk to college coaches, both players, coaches, and parents. So it'll be open to everybody. Only IEN though, so you're not going to be vying with a lot of other schools or players across the country. This is specific for Indiana schools, parents, and students. So we'll have a lot more information about this coming out, but put it on your calendars For the 2 break weeks, Wednesday, October 11th and Wednesday, October 17th, it'll help to get your kids registered on the Stay Plugged In platform, which is free. And it's probably the easiest and most effective way at reaching a large college recruiting market. So keep this on your radar and put it on your calendar. It'll be a great opportunity for our students to get some attention in terms of collegiate recruiting. And with that, I think I'm done.
Okay, Joe, do we want to go through questions so those questions can be on the
Yes,
recording?
let's quickly
Okay.
see where we're at.
Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of them.
There's a bunch.
All right, here we go.
How does that work with roster locking, with subbing people who are not on the roster initially?
So basically, when playoffs hit, you'll have a chance to set your roster maximum at whatever you like. So since there are no playoffs for academy and club, when we reach the end of the spring split, you'll have a chance to set your actual roster, and then we'll be able to lock it so that those players, starters and subs, are the ones you'll take into playoffs.
And on LeagueOS, are they? I mean, do they can just have all of those team members there and then invite them to the team and
correct.
And invite
yeah,
them?
and you can denote them as starters or as substitutes on LeagueOS. There's actually an arrow to the right of the players that you can use to do that. No more Epic for Rocket League. No, you can use Epic for Rocket League. We just listed PC. We didn't list specific clients, but Steam and Epic are both fine for Rocket League.
Did school points go away for chess?
School points went away for every tournament title. Yes, there are only individual points for tournament titles.
Are students allowed to use controllers and still play with or against keyboard and mouse players?
Yes, you'll find in the general rules a section on controller use in particular. It's limited to first-party supported controllers. So basically, if you have to install extra software for it to work, it is not allowed.
Do you have to play both build and no build, or can you have 2 who want to play no build and 2 who play build, or 3 build, 1 but no build?
You can do whatever you like, basically. You're just capped at 4 players for each lobby. So you can have up to 4 compete in build, up to 4 compete in no build. They can be the same 4, they can be different. You can have some overlap or some not.
Will IEN be able to help schools set up Fortnite private battle royales for practice? I'm not sure how it works, but I believe they need some sort of special code.
Yeah, we do have a spectator code. We will not be setting up practice battle royales, unfortunately. We will just be using our collegiate partner to run the lobby each week, but there's not really a way that we can set up practice battle royales.
To add on to that, there may be a chance, along with chess, Tetris, and iRacing, that there may be some preseason Fortnite lobbies up so that we can get coaches used to join those lobbies each week.
Will chess be open for middle school in the future? There's always an option for that. Usually at the end of a semester or end of a season or end of a year, I like to get input from coaches. And so if that is something that you as a coach are interested in, please suggest that, and we will take that to the competition council. Do we need to purchase school Minecraft subscriptions, or if students already have Minecraft accounts, does that work?
Yeah, student accounts are fine, and they're preferred.
Does starting lineup mean we can change lineup after the match has begun?
In games where there's more than one map or round, yeah. So like Valorant, no. Valorant is just one best of 13. But for other titles where you're playing a best of series, yes, your roster can change in between games.
Earlier, it was mentioned that it would cost $25 for Minecraft. Is that solely to get a virtual server for practicing? Is there a centralized server that will be joining for matches?
That is the same server.
It's the same server, yeah. The matches, that server you use for practice and you use it for competition. Can we record matches to use later for practice?
Yep, yeah, you can feel free to record. Again, it's general courtesy to just tell the other coach that you're streaming or recording.
Then are schools expected to pay for an unlocked, the entire SSBU character roster?
That's up to you. I mean, the DLC roster is recommended for sure. One of the maps one of the stages for counterpick is a DLC stage. You do not have to own it. You just can't pick it if you don't own it.
Is League of Legends best of 2 in regular season?
Yes. My apologies. League of Legends is best of 2 in the regular season, best of 3 in playoffs.
With Valorant and League of Legends, as they are available through Epic Games, can we go through Epic, or must we go by your tech info guide site?
You can go through Epic. It's cross-platform, so it doesn't matter.
Is there Valorant unlocked like League?
No, that is something we've asked of Riot, and they don't have any plans for that currently. But if we keep asking, maybe.
Okay, and then Ryan has a very specific question. I'll
Yep,
save
and I
that
think
for after the meeting. Do we need to have our rosters finalized by registration deadline?
No, you have to have your roster finalized by preseason week, so we can make sure that that's done. But no, you can have that little extra time to get your students into the platform and roster finalized. But the caveat being, if your roster is not set by that first week of competition, then we're going to have to make sure that that's done, and we'll contact you individually. So not by registration, but before competition.
Is Minecraft 25 per split or year? It is supposed to be per year. That's something we're still hammering out. Is it possible for anyone to check out LeagueOS to see our schedules in schools?
It's currently set to private, where you have to have an account and be invited. We're evaluating whether or not we want that to remain true in perpetuity, but for now it is invite only.
Okay, and for coaches that still need that link to get into LeagueOS, how do they get it? And then also, what if they have not joined or not very familiar with the Discord?
We can make sure the LeagueOS, I mean, it's posted here in the agenda. We can make sure it's in another weekly update as well. It has been posted in a few of them. You can always just email us. If you're not Discord savvy, feel free to reach out to us via email. You can email us individually, or you can just email IENboard@ison.info, and that will go to all of us.
Okay. I think that's all the questions for the
All
whole
right.
group.
Yeah, so if you have more questions, feel free to hang out with us. You can stay here, let us know. We'll hang out for a little bit. I am going to end the recording, though.